In Gears of War, there's one big question that's haunted fans for years. If the Krill aren't part of the Locust army, then how in the world does General RAAM have control over them? These terrifying creatures are completely separate from the Locust Horde, but in the final act, we see RAAM summoning them like a shadowy army to do his bidding. But what's the connection here? Is RAAM using some kind of dark power? Or is there something deeper at play? Before we dive into theories, let's take a quick moment to review the facts. The Krill are terrifying creatures. They're fast, swarm-like, and only appear in the darkness. The complete opposite of the Locust Horde, which is primarily focused on brute force and underground warfare. Yet, here we have General RAAM, one of the most powerful Locust leaders, seemingly able to control them. So what gives? Alright, let's break this down. The Krill don't exactly follow the same rules as the Locust. While the Locust are creatures born from the underground, mutated through emotion, and part of a very specific biological evolution, the Krill seem to exist as something entirely separate. They thrive in darkness, feed on light, and attack in swarms. They don't have the same origins as the Locust, but somehow RAAM has this uncanny ability to control them. How? One theory that has been circulating for years is that the Krill's connection to darkness is the key. RAAM, as we know, is not just any Locust. He's not only a commander, but also one of the most powerful of his kind. What if his power is tied to something beyond just brute force? What if RAAM has some sort of unique bond with the Krill, or even a mystical connection to darkness itself? Could RAAM be tapped into something supernatural? The Krill are creatures of the dark, emerging when light is absent, and RAAM's ability to control them might come from his connection to that darkness. Maybe the Locusts aren't just genetically altered beings. Maybe RAAM, as a leader, is a creature of the darkness itself. An entity that can command the Krill because they share a fundamental link. If RAAM has some form of shadow-based power, it could explain why he has influence over the creatures that normally only respond to darkness. But that doesn't quite explain the biology of it all. I mean, if RAAM's just connected to the dark, why would the Krill specifically answer to him? They're not part of his army after all, so let's consider a second theory. What if the emotion that powers the Locust also has a deeper connection to the Krill? We all know that emotion is capable of mutating and corrupting both human and animal life, turning them into grotesque monsters. It's the very thing that created the Locust and the Lambent. Could RAAM have been exposed to emotion in such a way that it gave him some biological control over the Krill? Maybe his exposure to the substance allows him to communicate with or control creatures that have been similarly affected by its dark power. Think about it. RAAM might not be just leading the Locust Horde. He could be some kind of living conduit for emotion power. The Krill, being creatures of the darkness, may be imbued with a similar form of emotion influence, meaning they respond to RAAM's presence as if he were a beacon of dark energy, just like the Lambent are connected to the substance. Maybe the Krill are too. Now, it's important to note that we don't have a direct explanation in the game of how this works, but looking at RAAM's relationship to the darkness and the emotion connection, it does feel like he might have a unique ability. It's possible that RAAM's control over the Krill is a part of his status as one of the most powerful figures in the Locust Horde, an ability rooted in both darkness and emotion. But there's one more theory we need to consider. What if RAAM's control over the Krill isn't biological or environmental, but mystical? In Gears of War, we know that the Locusts aren't just brutal warriors. They have access to ancient powers and weapons, possibly even some forgotten rituals. Could the Krill be tied to these ancient practices? What if RAAM is tapping into a long-lost connection to the land, using some kind of dark ritual or magic to command them? We see hints of this in the game, symbols, ruins, and artifacts that suggest the Locusts have a connection to something older than the war. Could RAAM's control over the Krill be a manifestation of an ancient bond that goes beyond biological or technological warfare? The Krill could be linked to this ancient power, and RAAM as a leader of the Locusts might be using some forgotten power to control them. Ultimately, No matter the answer, one thing is clear. RAAM's ability to control the Krill is deeply tied to his dark nature, whether it's through emotion, mystical influence, or something biological. He has a power over them that no other Locust has. It adds another layer to his already imposing presence. RAAM is not just the leader of the Locust, he is the master of the darkness itself, and the Krill are simply one more weapon in his terrifying arsenal. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, subscribe, and check out my Twitch where I stream almost every single day. I appreciate you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Stay safe.